Well, hello and welcome to week 7. Can you believe it? You are officially 3/4 of the way done with this course. Congratulations, and I hope that you are gaining insight as a future educational leader and having to have the perspectives of finance and how that impacts the work that you'll be doing for kids so they can achieve strong academic learning. The other aspect of this, and it's something I know I haven't talked about in any of these videos, but I think you are reading it and understanding it, is the idea of an integrity you have to have as an educational leader to really ethically think about the way you're spending and the accountability that's required for spending that you do in school finance. All these guidelines, all these procedures, all these laws really lay out how you as an educator need to spend your funds. I know that you just got done reading about the ASB funding from the manual that was there, and you've submitted papers. But I'm also going to put in another aspect of this, and those are your parent-teacher organizations, your PTA, PTOs, or PTSAs. That's another ethical side of spending and ensuring that you are making the best impact for students that you can. It's not anything that you're going to read right now, but again, the principal isn't the one in control of those organizations, but you definitely should have an influence in how those organizations are directing or planning to spend funds, and really being the one that asks the question, are we spending the funds in the best way for all students? I know we've talked specifically about LCFF having that base grant and then knowing the supplemental and the concentrated go to a specific core group identified. PTAs, PTOs, it should be an impact for the entire school, just like your base grant should be something that you're talking about for your entire school. So just that reminder that you really want to be that ethical leader that is really making a difference for all students. With that being said, let's jump into what week 7 is about. And again, we're going to look at the cafeteria, or more specifically, the National School Lunch Program, and then M&O, or Maintenance and Operations. Those are the big focus for this week that you'll be reading on. Your discussion board will get into the National School Lunch Program. But for this week, as always, a reminder for you, the Christian message, completely optional, but just something for you to read on and think about. Christ really does encourage us to be stewards of funds, and just that reminder. So the reading for this week, we're going to get into chapters 13 and 14. I'm just going to give you a table of contents view. We're going to get into maintenance and operations. Again, not anything you specifically have to worry about as a site administrator, except for maybe some of those custodial funds that you might see in a decentralized situation. You have to fund for the needs of your custodian. Think about this past year in COVID and all the funds that needed to be added for personal protective equipment, or that PPE, cleaning standards, new cleaning equipment. Those are all part of a maintenance and operation budget, on top of the upkeep of the school facility, upkeep of the playground, as well as the day-to-day operations custodial again. So you'll get into looking at that breakdown, looking at some board policy and district policies. Again, each Board of Education has the right to create their own policy, but it needs to be in alignment with some guidance that are there. The California School Board Association is one of those places that makes recommendations for a school board to look at. So you'll notice that some board and policies are very similar because CBSA is making those recommendations, and they give a draft version of some policies, and districts can take and alter it from there. So you'll read more of that in chapter 13 about maintenance operation, and then chapter 14 will be about school food service programs, really getting into the National School Lunch Program, talking about the school breakfast program, how the funding operates. A big thing to understand is it is a federal program, but a lot of federal programs don't say, here's the money up front. It really is more, here, district, you spend, and we'll reimburse you for what you spend. And sometimes that can be hard for a district when having to think about cash flow. If your district's bank account doesn't have enough cash to pay for it, even though you'll be reimbursed, that could be a challenge. And some districts have talked about that, even with LCFF not being fully funded. That's a cash flow problem if the district isn't receiving money. So just know reimbursement is a big conversation in that. You're also going to talk about needing to manage personnel costs for food service programs, and then energy costs, because again, running a kitchen, operating a kitchen, that comes into play in energy costs. And M&O, I'm going to go back into chapter 13. Energy costs is another conversation. I know some districts are looking at solar panels or put in solar panels, trying to look at cutting energy costs as well. I am going to speak to my district. They added solar panels throughout our district and supposedly saving us about $1 to $2 million a year in energy costs. So it is something to think about. So that's the primary reading from your text, the school finance text. There are two websites to have you look at. One you've actually seen before. It is the LCFF, or Local Control Formula Funding website. It's just a reminder here, especially as we're getting ready to go into assignment number 5. Your final assignment for this course, as well as it being the signature assignment, is understanding, what are the aspects that make up LCFF. You'll just continue to review that. And then there is one more. It comes from, again, the CDE website as well, and that is the National School Lunch Program. It'll give you insight into how the state of California sees the program, what they're following from the federal guidelines. So you'll just read through this. You notice there are more links if you're interested in more. I will give you the heads up. This and that reading of chapter 14 will help you in the discussion board for the week, because we'll be discussing that in just a moment. But those are the other two pieces of reading for you to complete this week. Now, there is a learning module. You'll be talking about the business office responsibilities. Again, they're in the accounting side of the world, the ordering side, of the purchasing side of the world. They also complete audits, talk about attendance, as that when you're looking at ADA for those LCFF districts, attendance is huge, how many students we have and how regular they're attending. So you'll go into that learning module. And then for week 7, there's one discussion board, and I'm not going to click on the board, I'm just going to talk about it right now. And that is really asking you to discuss your national school lunch program for your district. How do students qualify in your district? How are funds received? As well as why is it important to identify students who are able to receive free or reduced lunch? Besides just feeding them, what other impact does that have? Hint, 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 LCFF, if you didn't already think that. But just know that should be part of your conversation. So again, chapter 14 will help you on that, as well as the website for the National School Lunch Program. So that's, as always, discussion boards are due Thursday of the week by 11:59, and your response to 2 of your peers by the Sunday of the week. So that is what this week consists of. The only other thing I'm going to encourage you on is, you've heard me talk about it before, your signature assignment, which is assignment number 5, which is drafting a budget for the next school year. So that is assignment number 5. My reminder for you on this is, it's not just presenting a budget on a spreadsheet, but you're really going to be writing about that budget, giving me insight as the reader to why you're budgeting the way you're budgeting, why you're spending so much on teacher cost or supplemental costs, or looking at extra curriculum that's needed, or if you're investing in technology, and you're going to be giving the write-up of that technology. Now, that doesn't say that you can't have an appendix page that is the total overview of that mocked budget, or inserting a table here and there. I'm going to remind you of APA. When you insert a table, you do need to give the table a title. It can't just be a table in there. You'll find guidance for that in the APA 7th edition manual, or going into your online writing labs. Purdue has got a great one. Remember that we are using the 7th edition of APA is what we should be holding ourselves accountable to when writing in an APA standard. I know Concordia has put up some of those components in your APA resources, which is right over here in your side menu bar, as well as just looking in other resources. Purdue has that shift from 6 to 7. I know that started pretty, at least about a year ago is when APA 7 came out. So just something to think about. If you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to email, to call, or to text. I will try and respond as quickly as possible. The other piece of that mock budget, it is totally fine. If you haven't done it already, maybe have that conversation with your principal, see what they're working on, see if you can use that information to write your paper. The paper, again, is 3 to 5 pages of content, not including a reference page or an appendix page or your title page. I hope it's a great week. I'd love to hear from you if you need any support or encouragement or any clarification. God bless.